Without further ado, let's go to the guest hotline and welcome Austin onto the program. Thanks so much for a few minutes. Hopefully, you had a restful, peaceful, long weekend, Austin.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me back on, boys. Good to hear you guys' voice. But no, this Thursday night game obviously leads to a longer weekend, so I've been enjoying getting myself mentally prepared to go back to the facility. It's a little weird because we have a routine that we've been doing for so long, and then you kind of break it up, and we're watching football on Sunday, and it just kind of feels off a little bit. So I'm glad to be back in the building here soon.
How was the body after that grind? Two really physical, tough games in 5 days against two really good teams. I can't imagine doing anything like that, but, this is part of the gig for you guys. But just how was everybody feeling? How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's definitely something you wouldn't want to do too often, just as how grueling the game is. I was definitely still sore, like my neck was still sore. My legs were still sore going into Thursday. And so it's one of those things that, like you mentioned, we have to go through. Luckily, only once a year. But feeling good now is the best part. Getting a couple days after definitely lets you recover from playing two games in the 4-day stretch.
It was not a particularly prolific offensive game for you guys, but individually, you had a day. 8 grabs for about 90 yards on 9 targets, had a 34-yard catch and run where you dragged Zach Bond literally like 18 yards down the field, which was awesome. Very physical play on the touchdown drive in the first half. How do you kind of make sense of those games where maybe you didn't accomplish your goals with a win or offensively, but like you had a really strong individual performance?
Yeah, that's the game of football. There's a lot of individuals that are doing individual efforts, have their individual job, and we need to all come together and hopefully do our job better than our opponent can. And some days, you're going to have good days, but that doesn't always mean it's going to be a win. This is a team game, so you need people around you as well to pull up their end of the bargain, and just like they're relying on you to do that for yourself and your job. And, we weren't able to make enough plays offensively to get that job done. On Thursday night, unfortunately, we felt like definitely, we left some stuff on the table, and, I feel like a never ending feeling for athletes in general. You always feel like, man, it's the question of, well, if we would have done that, if we would have did this. But I think we realize our potential, and we see, the potential that we have, and we've seen success from that potential. And so I think coming back into the building after this long weekend, letting everyone kind of relax a little bit, get your mind off of football, and now get ready for these next 2 games before the bye week is really going to be a good opportunity for us to really lock in and really make sure that, again, we're really focusing on the small details that show up in the game that make the biggest difference.
Austin Ekeler with us here on G&D. Go into what Philadelphia did defensively, Austin. That's a good team, and defensively they've been playing really well here, especially of late. What do they do to kind of try to make things difficult for you guys, and lessons learned there?
Yeah, they were they're a different defense that I feel like doesn't bring a lot of pressure. Not that I don't feel they don't bring a lot of pressure. They really sit. They play sound in their positions. That they're letting those 4 up front. Go get pressure. That's what they're relying on. Go get pressure. We're going to be in our spots, and we'll cover anything down the field, and we'll make you dink and dunk and throw it to me to force you to try to chip it down the field. And they're betting on you're going to mess up and have to punt before you're able to chip it all the way down and put a 15-yard drive together, or 11-yard drive, so to speak. So that's kind of the philosophy of their defense. And it's kind of more of the bend, don't break mentality, and it's definitely been paying off for them.
Austin Ekeler is with us here on Grant and Danny. Austin, back-to-back games against really good defenses. To Danny's point there with how they're playing you, where it hasn't quite been at the same level, and everyone's trying to figure out what's changed or what's gone on. I mean, do you just view it as kind of the ebbs and the flows of the season, and these kind of stretches happen? Or is there more to it where you have to really dive into and do an autopsy on why, after it had come so easily for so long, have the last couple of games gone differently?
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's the ebbs and flows of the NFL. Like, there's ups and downs. You go through, a couple games of good stretches, a few games, maybe, hey, this wasn't our best ball. This was better. This was bad. And it's something that you got to fix quick in the NFL, because our games matter a lot more to our, chances of being in the playoffs than some of these other sports. And so it's definitely a flow, but it's something that has to be fixed immediately. And that's kind of the name of the game in the NFL. It's like you have to be on most of the year because if you can't go through too big of a lull, like we just got back-to-back losses, and that's definitely putting pressure on us as just competitors of being like, hey, like we know we're better than this, but you only have so many games to go out there and prove that. So we got to make sure that we're on our details, making sure that's being echoed through through our leadership of coaches and players into just the rest of the team, just because we know what's at hand here. And it takes a long time to, you have to go through all the way the season. You don't want to let moments like this slip. And we play game by game, but we want to make sure that it's not something that we didn't do that caused us to fail, right? We want to make sure we did every single thing. We coached as hard as we could. We practiced as hard as we could to go out there and win these games. And look, we had 2 losses, but we do have, the last 6 games of the season here. So we're going to take it one at a time and still continue to try to put ourselves in a position to have a chance to get in the playoffs.
Austin, you referenced this earlier, but I'd love for you to go into it. The fact that you guys' bye week is so late, week 14, and you kind of have this mini thing now, but you have to go through, 2 games in 5 days to get there. You guys have been in this practice play on the weekend for whatever it's like 17 straight weeks. Then you factor in training camp and kind of getting ready. I know it's the gig, but it feels like there haven't really been any breaks for you guys. So I feel like everybody's got to be at least worn down or kind of bumps and bruises physically. Go into that for me a little bit, if you would, where you're sort of like, oh my God, we're almost to the bye week. We're almost there. We're almost there, right? Is that something that you kind of have circled just in terms of that weekly grind that you guys have been on?
You could circle the bye week, but it doesn't matter. Like if you go through this season, no matter if you have a bye early or late, if you just make it through all 17 games and you're getting a good amount of play, your body is going to be beaten down. And that is the game. The game is violent. The game is vicious. And also you're trying to maintain workouts. You're practicing. Like there's a lot of wear and tear on this body. That's why, the average career, I think, is like 2.9 years. It's because there's a lot of competition to play at a high level, which means a lot of guys that are big, fast, strong that you're going against every single year, every single down. Which is why it's so great. That's why we love it. Like we love that stuff. That's amazing. Like it's a high competitive, high impact sport. But because of that, you're gonna have ramifications that are, hey, guys get beaten down. It's across the league though, right? It's across the league. Some more than others, depending on if you look at injuries and things like that. There's some major ones. Luckily for us, I feel like we've been clean in those categories. If you're superstitious, knock on wood. But yeah, it's a grind, man. And part of the reason I think the fans love it, we love it. And so it's nothing new to us. Nothing new. The grind is not new for us, especially our guys that have been playing for a few years.
Austin Ekeler every Tuesday at 5:00. Trusted insight from a trusted insider presented by IT Cadre, where DC Sports Insiders share their exclusive perspective with us on G&D on the Fan. Along those same lines, this kind of is something we've been talking about quite a bit. I'm sure you're unplugged or not paying attention to necessarily a whole lot of the big storylines or narratives swirling around this week, but a lot's being made about Jayden Daniels' health and his rib. We're watching him get bandaged up after every drive on the sideline. And Dan Quinn came out this week and said he's healthy. And we've been talking about this idea this late into the season of like pain versus injury versus hurt, what that is. But the idea being that a lot of players are playing through things. Can you just give us any perspective on that of like how many guys are 100% and the difference between being able to play and play well versus knowing maybe I can't help the guys this week and like what that's like?
Yeah. We're in a job where you don't really get the option to call in sick, and kind of the mentality of this job is that if you can play, you can go. Like you're going if you can play, right? If you've earned that role and you're in that starter spot or even in that backup spot, like, can you not go or can you go? It's kind of the mentality. And that as a competitor in this league, that's what it comes down to. I've played with a lot of guys, even myself, especially the rib category. I'm not a quarterback, so I can't speak for them, but broken ribs, yeah, you can get through that. Some sprains, shoulders, upper body, lower body, ankles, all of that stuff. You can get through it. Like, hey, we have some painkillers, we have ways, we have treatment, we have all these things that we can do to get ourselves ready to go for 1 hour on Sunday. And that's what the season becomes later in the year. It's maintaining yourself so that you can physically go out there and give it everything you got for 60 minutes. And that's what you're seeing. So, what does healthy mean? Healthy is the perspective at this point, right? At this point in the season.
That's a great line.
Like, well, you're healthy enough to be able to play, yes, but healthy as if like nothing hurts, maybe not, you know?
Austin Ekeler with us here on G&D. So have you noticed defenses maybe doing things a bit differently against you guys? I mean, that the rip-roaring start, it's more than a start, half a season basically, of you guys just, ringing the bell a ton and moving the football and scoring a bunch of points.
Tressway not punting.
Yeah, seriously, he's so bored. He's a professional holder for the first 6 weeks of the season. Have you noticed defenses kind of playing you guys differently, trying to force you to do different things?
Maybe. I mean, it's no secret that our quarterback can run. And I think it was really predominant in the beginning of the season. And maybe defenses are like, just us in general, and, any defense out there, if you have a mobile quarterback, what are you saying? Oh, hey, we got to keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. Hey, keep Jayden Daniels in the pocket, right? Make him throw the ball. Don't let him run. Don't let him hurt you with your legs. Like, if you have any of these mobile quarterbacks, we win against Lamar, what are we trying to do? Trying to keep him in the pocket, right? Collapse the pocket on him and keep him in there. So I'm sure that's definitely a discussion for every single defense that we go against. Maybe it wasn't as much in the beginning, but now that Jayden's shown that, hey, he's a threat, and now he's respected as a runner as well, he's earned that. He's earned that respect that, hey, they're going to do everything they can to keep him in the pocket. So maybe that's something that's different that we would kind of expect to see, but nothing too crazy. I think defenses really have their own identity, and they kind of are willing to, live or die by those. It kind of just depends on who your coordinator is.
All right, let's end the conversation with a couple of our listener questions for Austin Ekeler. Danny, you could grab one from your account if you want. These are our IT Cadre listener questions that have come in on our weekly segment with Ekeler here on Grant and Danny. I got one from Nolan who wants to know. He said, who has stepped up on the offense that's impressed you? And I would even add, maybe who's come the furthest since the start of the year, or someone that's, that maybe you didn't know a lot about that you were impressed by, but also who's someone that you would say, don't sleep on this guy. The rest of this season, this is someone who could help us a lot on offense.
Okay. Someone that has surprised me. The obvious one is Jayden, just because you never know what you're expecting with rookies, and especially at the quarterback position. So that's obvious. But I think someone that also has really stepped up from when they're called upon is Jeremy McNichols. Right now on the depth chart, he's like the third string behind me at the running back position. But anytime he's been in the running back position, been called upon, he's done his job. He's in year 8 like me, veteran. Also, he's a maniac out there on special teams as well. So making an impact, not just on offense, but in special teams. Another guy is I didn't really know he was this type of player, but Jeremy Reeves. He's one of our special teams guys. He leads our team in tackles on special teams. He is unbelievable to watch on special teams. Oh my goodness. I have never in my career really got up and watched like kickoff and punt. Cause usually I'm like, I'm going to go, just watch it on the Jumbotron, but like, it is so energetic to watch those guys out there running and going and hitting. And so I actually get up there and I'm watching coverage, cause I'm like, I'm going to go watch these guys. This is about to be crazy. So that may not be the one that everyone knows, but Jeremy Reeves, hey, watch number 39 out there on special teams.
Listener question here, Austin, from Dr. Van Nostrand on the old Twitterverse. Basically saying, how do you guys, and you guys have done such a good job of it this year, how do you avoid a letdown game potentially after 2 really tough ones and a Dallas team? It's no secret. They've been struggling here a little bit, falling short of their expectations for the season. How do you guys avoid letdown, something that you've done such a good job of this year? How do you do it?
Yeah, you've got to focus on yourself. You focus when it comes to practice this week. Hey, we're focusing on our fundamentals. Like you can't buy into, the hype around the media of, gassing somebody up or tearing them down, because guess what? These guys get paid too. These guys are professional football players, and they have the same mindset of us going in this game is that, hey, we're going to whip your ass. Like that's the mindset. And that's across the league. It doesn't matter if you're the 0-16 Browns, they're still going in there trying to win the dang game, at the last game, because that's what we're paid to do. That's our job. And we have a legacy, if not for a team, but for individually that we're trying to uphold. So you can't take anyone lightly in this league, because if you do, you will get beat. It is definitely any given Sunday, and some teams obviously have different scenarios than others, but it doesn't matter when it's 0-0 and you're kicking off, because it's a whole new day, a whole new time that you have to go out there and prove yourself.
You can see why we love having Austin Ekeler on every single week, every Tuesday, right at 5:00. We appreciate the insight. Next time we see you, hopefully you're scoring a touchdown against the Cowboys. Thanks for a few minutes.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Be
See you,
good.
man.
There's Austin Ekeler. On Grant and Danny, a weekly appointment. IT Cadre's trusted insight, helping leaders of the nation's most important organizations understand complexity, align efforts, and make the best data-driven decisions to achieve success. IT Cadre, your vision, our purpose. Actually had lunch today with a couple of the folks from IT Cadre.
Yeah, good to meet them.
Who sponsor that segment, and they came in studio, started the show today with us, which was very, very cool. We appreciate them and all the folks who help us do this show. Grant and Danny, and bring it to you each and every day on The Fan. Ekeler is such a positive influence, you could just tell, in that locker room. But one of the things he always talks about, details.
Yep.
Like he is, I don't know if that was how he got to the league undrafted. I don't know if that's always been the case, or if somewhere early in his career,
Somebody got a hold of the mentality. Yeah.
But you can just see it. And he actually, I actually should have brought this up. I didn't even think about it. Remember the pass that he quote unquote dropped? It was actually doesn't go down as a drop because it was tipped at the line. But in real time, you couldn't tell that from where we were sitting. Ball comes to him. If he catches it and gets up the field, he might get a field goal. Instead, they had to punt. The ball got tipped and was wobbly. But he came over to the sideline and he was like jumping up and down, kind of stomping like kind of a kid in a kitchen.
Yeah,
like
super ticked off. Yeah.
Like really mad at himself. And right away, Brian Robinson ran over and got in his ear and was like, I got you. You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it. Bobby Wagner did the same thing. Hashtag brotherhood. The brotherhood is real.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Danny? Brotherhood. Hat backwards. Brotherhood.
Brotherhood.
But he is just such a detail-oriented person that you could tell that little mistake killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of player I want on my team.
Yeah, it's the source of pride that everything is right. And if it's not right, we're going to do it till it's right. Yeah, that serves you well, not just in this football thing, but anywhere, you know. And his other answer that kind of goes to that about the letdown question, that good question from listener there. The fact is, and this has been the mantra all along, is you worry about yourself. Doesn't mean you don't respect your opponent. Doesn't mean that you don't, consider them or do scouting reports based on them. But you control what you can control. I always tell kids this as when I coach, you can control your effort. You can control, what you ate that day, what the night of sleep you got the night before. You can control all your energy and everything that you're doing towards, getting as good as you possibly can. Sometimes the shot doesn't go in. Sometimes the pass is tipped. Sometimes the line drive is caught. You can't control that. Control what you can control. And that message has clearly permeated to everybody on that roster. They're dominating the things that they can control.
I thought it was interesting. You asked, our team's playing you differently? And he said, yeah. And then he went right to, they're keeping Jayden in the pocket.
Yeah.
That was a tell. Not that it's newsy, right? I think we kind of
interesting to hear them say it.
But yeah. To hear it from his mouth as someone on the field who's in pass pro, helping protect him, I thought that was pretty revealing.